to approach first. Envisioning the interior where they'd stayed several months when she was young helped her to identify that the window located directly ahead belonged to one of the 2 bedrooms. She had no idea which one the occupant was using, but it was a good starting point. Just as she rose to creep forward, a twig snapped behind her. Dropping to the ground, she made herself as small as possible behind the tree. The tiny hairs on the back of her neck lifted in alarm. It wasn't as if the woods were quiet. Foxes, coyotes, and white-tailed deer roamed freely here. There were no doubt black bears and bobcats, too. Yet she sensed a human had made the noise, not an animal. The seconds dragged by as she remained curled in a ball behind the tree, every one of her senses on alert. She'd left her vehicle a solid 2 miles away and hadn't noticed anyone following her from the Twin Cities. Maybe the cabin resident was out and about, checking the perimeter. It's what she'd have done if she were staying there. And it was something her father would have done too. It gave her hope that maybe he was safe after all. Still, she didn't move, waiting and watching for the person inside to show himself. A full 15 minutes passed. Belching tree frogs and the occasional hoot of an owl echoed around her, but no sign of a person. Abby let another long stretch of time pass before slowly rising from the ground. Maybe the twig had been broken by a wild animal. One thing for sure, an innocent person returning home would have continued moving toward the cabin rather than hiding out. The thought was not reassuring. Swallowing the urge to call out to her dad, she drew in a deep breath, rose, and quickly crossed the clearing, pressing herself up alongside the cabin. Again, she waited to see if anyone else followed her. Nothing moved. So far, so good. Sliding along the cabin wall, she turned slightly to peer through the window. It wasn't easy to see in the darkness, but after a long moment, she confirmed the room was empty. Flattening herself back against the wall, she quickly passed the window to check the next one. That room was empty, too. Her pulse kicked up with anticipation. Maybe her dad was here. He could have gone out to check the perimeter just as she'd approached. Although, if that was the case, why hadn't he answered any of her phone calls? After another long 5 minutes, she eased around the corner of the cabin to approach the back door. Getting inside would be the best way to prove her father was staying there. Testing the doorknob, she frowned. It wasn't locked. That gave her pause, but then she pushed the door open and peeked inside. The scent of burning wood was stronger now, a faint glow coming from the cast-iron stove in the corner. She slipped inside and closed the door, taking a moment to search for personal items. The interior was clear. Not a single item of clothing, a book, or slip of paper indicated anyone was living there. If not for the stove being full of wood and lit for warmth, she'd have assumed the place to be vacant. Crossing the main room housing the small kitchen and living space, she checked both bedrooms. The covers on the bed in the first room were dusty and had obviously not been recently disturbed. The second room, though, was different. While the bed was made, the bedding looked and smelled clean rather than musty. Yet there were no items of clothing in this space either. What in the world? With a deep frown, she left the bedroom to return to the main living quarters.
"Hello, Abby."
She stopped dead, her gaze fixated on the tall stranger standing in the center of the room. Her blood ran cold as she realized her situation had gone from bad to worse. "You must be FBI Agent Wyatt Kane." She forced the words through her tight throat. It wasn't a stretch, based on the gun clipped to his belt and the way his dark hair was neatly trimmed. All that was missing was the obligatory blue suit. He was dressed in jeans, a flannel shirt, and dark jacket, but she still figured he was a Fed. His eyes widened in surprise.